Hey there, welcome to Two Houses, One Home, the video series. I'm Courtney Kirkpatrick. I work with Home Inc., an affordable housing agency here in Des Moines. We're building an accessory dwelling unit behind a new home in the Oak Park neighborhood. Accessory dwelling units are just a smaller home that shares a residential lot with a larger single-family home. In this series, we'll be showing you the construction of our ADU and learning how these homes can benefit the community. And we'll get back here to the site to learn more about what we have going on in construction. But first, let's check in with Brent Shipper, our project architect, to learn more about ADUs and how they're built.
Well, thanks for joining us, Brent Shipper. You were the architect on this ADU project. So could you tell us a little bit about what it was like designing the space?
Well, the fun part and the hard part about an ADU is using space very efficiently. You have to start with a plan because you have so few square feet that you need to make sure that every square foot is used for multiple things. If you look at the living space is one open space, and that's very important so that it can be used to fold laundry, or it can be used as a kitchen, it can be used as a living room. So that open space allows it to be many things to the people that live there. Just the small corridor that leads from the kitchen living area to the bedroom. It isn't labeled a corridor because it is a storage room, it is a laundry room, and it is the path by which you get to the bathroom and to the bedroom. So we were very careful to make sure that there were no spaces that were just other. There is a large closet, and then in the living room, there are storage closets that are built in under windows above. The other part of making the space very livable was making sure it had a lot of light. And so we used a lot of windows. Windows don't necessarily cost more than walls. So putting windows in doesn't make it so that it's not economical. What we want to make sure is that we keep the size down first to keep economy.
What are some things that folks would need to keep in mind if they wanted to actually build an ADU on their site?
Lots of times there are comparisons to the size of the house. Like in many communities, the ADU cannot be any larger than 50% of the size of the house. And then ADUs have different setbacks than a main house, and a setback is how far away from the property line it can be built. Project that we are doing in Des Moines, the ADU has to have a outward appearance that is similar to the main house. So the ADU that we are building in Des Moines right now has features such as a hipped roof. It has colors that are similar to colors and materials similar to the main house, and even the window type and style we took from the main house. So there is a consistency. So one of the first things that anyone should do is talk to the city's planning or zoning or building department to understand what kind of rules and regulations there are in that particular community.
Well, thank you so much, Brent. That was really helpful. Let's now go back to our ADU site and see how we're coming along.
Okay, so we're here on site with Tony Montgomery, the Executive Director of Home Inc. Tony, can you tell us what's been happening here on site?
Thanks, Courtney. This fall, we were able to clear the trees from the site and complete excavation and pour the foundations for the site. Since winter has cleared up, we've been able to come in and insulate the foundation, and we just completed the rough ends for the plumbing, and they're backfilling the foundation with gravel, and we'll soon be able to start pouring the slabs. We chose the site here in the Oak Park neighborhood for a number of different reasons. The first one is it's in a nice established residential neighborhood, and the site gives us great access from the alley in the rear for the accessory dwelling unit and the main house here on the front on Euclid Avenue. As well, this is an area that Invest ESM is working in, and we were able to secure this site in partnership with Invest ESM. On the front of the site will be located a two-story house. It'll be a two-story, 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 4-square. Here on the back of the site will be the accessory dwelling unit on one side, and then over here will be the attached one-car garage, both of which will have access from the alley.
So what's next for the site? What are we going to do next?
Great, now that the weather is getting nice, we're going to be able to finish the concrete work with the foundation and the slabs. And then we'll be able to move on to the exciting part, which is the framing, when you really start to see the structures take shape.
Well, that's it for this episode. Make sure that you like and subscribe to stay up to date with what we have going on in the project. If you'd like to learn more about this ADU or Home Inc. ourselves, you can visit us online at homeincdsm.org. Thanks for joining. Welcome back to Two Houses, One Home. I'm Courtney Kirkpatrick, and I work with Home Inc., a local affordable housing agency. We're building an accessory dwelling unit behind a new home in the Oak Park neighborhood. Accessory dwelling units are just a smaller home that shares a residential lot with a larger single-family home. In this series, we'll be showing you the construction of our ADU and learning how these homes can benefit the community. In today's video, we're back at the site to see how things are going. But first, we're going to check in with Chris Sidoris, Home Inc.'s board president, to hear more about the project overall and why it's a good fit for Home Inc. Hi, Chris. Thanks for joining us for part 2 of our video series about the ADU. First, you want to just start by telling us why this is a good fit for Home Inc.?
About 3 years ago, I was at a housing conference, and I happened to stumble across a segment from AARP on ADUs. The thing that I loved about the ADU is it had the ability to serve a family of very different segments of its life. And so, depending on where the person stepped in, Home Inc. tends to, our tagline is, we meet you on your journey. Well, this was a piece of real estate that absolutely could do that. From the very beginning, a very young family can purchase this and live in the home and potentially rent the ADU. And then as the family gets older, maybe the kids go to college and live out there, or they use it as a remote work studio or an art studio. Okay, well then as they go on, potentially they need a caregiver, or they have, someone with a disability that needs to live there. Well then as they age on, potentially then they're ready for accessibility. So maybe this 2-story home doesn't serve them. They move to the ADU and they rent the home, and that's the way for them to support their lifestyle. And so it has that ability uniquely to serve a family throughout its lifetime in the neighborhood that they love, as opposed to at the point that the house outgrows me or I outgrow the house, I have to move outside the neighborhood. And so that's what I love about the ADU, is it uniquely has the ability to do that most pieces of real estate today don't do.
So how much does an ADU like this cost?
Well, it can really vary, and it really depends on what people want to do. So when we looked at this one, we specifically knew that we wanted to talk about accessibility. We wanted to be able to go into an existing neighborhood. And so it really depends, and that's the beauty of ADUs. You can go as small, it can be actually in the home if you want it to be, or outside, or can be some that are very beautiful. And so costs can really range depending on what that use is. They start around $100,000, and that's kind of where ours will come in. Obviously, it's single story. We attach it to a garage, but it can go up to really some pretty amazing stuff. I mean, I've seen some at 350 and plus, but that's pretty amazing. That's pretty outstanding stuff. So in Midwest, we're somewhere between maybe 100,000 to 250.
Well, what are we hoping to learn from this project?
What I hope that we can do, certainly within neighborhoods and communities is look at a different housing type. One of the things that is critical today as housing costs go up is that we start to price people out of neighborhoods. And, if there's a takeaway from neighborhoods, we've learned about the beauty and importance of social connections, not only within our family, but with our neighbors. And so the ADU allows us to go in and keep those families whole, allows them to kind of move through the lifespan that they do, but also starts to allow neighborhoods to expand. But this has the ability to bring in housing at a much lower cost point. It's a green option because you're not buying land. The land already exists. The infrastructure already exists. And so it's a way for policy people, as you think about how do you add housing at a lower cost. You don't have to have infrastructure. You don't have to add cost to it, but yet you're serving that population and leaning on all the retail and the parks and those kind of things that are already in place. The trails that you have, you're not adding to that, but it's a way to bring it as a low cost option. And it literally can be done in any city in the entire US.
Lastly, why, especially today, do you think that this is a critical housing opportunity?
The beauty of the ADU is that I think it tells that story. It allows us to talk about why the home fits the family. You know, the family loves this neighborhood. The family may, you know, we hopefully maybe do some multi-generational living here. How do we increase our lifestyle but let the house serve that, as opposed to, you know, 60% of the families today are 1 and 2 people households. And we're building these big homes. Okay, let's build homes that meet the people where they are. And so the beauty of that ADU is it allows us to respond to that, but show people how we can respond in a very critical way. So I'm very excited about the fact that Home Inc. gets to bring that to here. I'm excited that our organization gets to tell that story, and the fact that we need to do it with some amazing partners in the city of Des Moines and in this great neighborhood of Oak Park and Highland Park.
I love it. I love your passion for it, and appreciate that you brought it to Home Inc.
Yes, I'm excited.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
Great, thanks.
Well, let's head back to the ADU site and see how things are coming along. So we're back here on site with Tony Montgomery, the Executive Director of Home Inc. Tony, can you tell us what's happened since we were last here?
Yes, Courtney, since we were here in the spring, we finished the exterior of the house. So it's all completely framed, the windows are in place, and the roof is complete. The accessory dwelling unit has really taken shape over the last few weeks. The framing is complete, the roof is ready for shingles, and in the next week we'll be installing windows.
Can you tell us a little bit about how the layout inside is coming to life, since it is such a small space?
Absolutely. One of the most exciting things about getting the framing complete is you can really start to get a feel for the layout. When you walk through the unit, you can feel when you're walking into the living room, and then you move into the kitchen, and then down the hallway into the accessible bathroom, the laundry area, and the bedroom. And then you can also see where the garage is going to be adjacent to the accessory dwelling unit.
So Tony, what are you most excited about towards the end of the project, since we're wrapping up here soon?
One of the things we're most excited about at Home Inc. is now that the structure is really taking place and people driving down the street can really see the property, we're getting a lot of questions from the community and interest from realtors. So we're really excited to be able to start showing this to prospective buyers. We've had a lot of interest from larger and expanded families, multi-generational families who are really excited about the opportunity to have this type of space to fit their family needs.
Thanks for tuning in to today's video. You can learn more about the project on our website at homeincdsm.org. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see the next video in the series. Next time we'll be back here to see the finished product.